So we had the big earthquake of 2012 and now Japan sinks 2020. I'm looking forward to see what they do in 2028. Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. So Japan sinks 2020. Man, this was an odd one. This really was. So Japan Sinks 2020 is this disaster anime set in the year 2020, you know, where everything's so bright and optimistic. Where a humongous earthquake causes the whole island of Japan to sink. It's a 10-episode show following this family of four, where at the time during the incident, all of the family was split apart. And I thought it was going to be about them trying to get back together throughout the whole show. But alas, we're in the modern day society, and it's relatively easy to find each other now these days. So yeah, the show wasn't actually about them trying to reconnect with each other after the earthquake, which I suppose is a good thing because we've seen the whole story of finding each other before. So no, it became more of a story of what to do next after they'd found each other, knowing that the island was collapsing around them. So this show. So I want to talk about the art style first. I'm not sure if it was a stylistic choice or not, but in my opinion, the artwork, it's not good. It's just not good. They were going for this more realistic approach, I guess. And when they pull it off, it does look quite nice. But when they get it wrong, it just... Okay, so I'm just going to put some still images and clips in this part, and I just want you to see for yourself what the artwork's like. The world and the environment looks pretty sharp and crisp. But the people that they're trying to draw in certain situations, some of them look so fucked up, and it really puts you off when you're watching this. There's some moments where it's supposed to be really sad, and I just can't help but look at the faces that look completely disproportionate and messed up. And that's all I can think about. And it is a shame, because I feel like this story tries to stand out a lot with its graphic storytelling. The movie doesn't hesitate to jump into the event right off the bat. Within the first 5 or 6 minutes of the first episode, it's already kicking off. It doesn't waste your time learning the characters or the situation around them, but it instead does that throughout the whole show. With each passing episode, you get to learn more and more about the group of survivors, which I think is better done. It makes it a more reasonable pace. And it is really graphic at the start. You see girls getting crushed by boulders, and people getting smushed by lockers, dislocated arms and limbs, heads being squished. It really sets the tone for the rest of the show as well. It's definitely consistent in its graphic storytelling. But then, I think it was about midpoint of the shows where I just lost it. I don't want to go too spoilery in case people do want to actually watch this. There's a part to the show where they find this safe haven / cult, which I feel was completely unnecessary to the story. The ending purpose of being there meant that they met this really important character for the few episodes to come, but they could have met this person through any other means and it would not have affected the plot in any way. Instead, you get this 2 or 3 episode pause, and it's just some of the weirdest stuff, man. I don't know if the dub wasn't quite done correctly, but some of the stuff people say in this are just so out of character. And not as in the character that they are themselves, but more, no one in real life would ever say these things. It gets really weird and really trippy. And at one point you almost forget it's a disaster movie, and it just becomes this weird little... It's like you're watching Midsummer or something. The whole thing felt like you had to be on LSD whilst you were watching it, and it really put me off for the rest of the show. By the end of the show, I pretty much hated every character that was alive. And it sounds mean, but I was just rooting for a lot of them to die, or at least not to be on screen anymore because I couldn't stand watching them. And that's because the main characters are so dumb. The main story follows the 2 kids, brother and sister, and I know they're not supposed to be the smartest people in the world, but one of them is supposed to be 15, 16, and it just baffles me some of the mistakes they made, especially when some of the people that were with them on the journey were so smart and clever. It makes the dumb choices stand out even more when you have these smart characters that are usually doing the right thing. There's definitely a few times where you're screaming at the screen going, I would not have done that at all. And I guess the whole point of the story is about these children growing up, but it's just like, okay, so I'm gonna spoil one thing in this show. This girl gets a cut on her leg at the start of the show, and throughout the whole 10 episode series, she does not once mention it to anyone else until the final episode where she has to amputate her leg because the cuts got so infected. And it just infuriated me because it was a tiny little cut. And if she said something at the start to anyone in any scenario they were in, they could have treated it properly. And it's just stuff like that which makes you think, how am I supposed to root for these people when they're not even trying to help themselves properly? I mean, This girl's going to piss you off throughout the whole show. The end of the show does try to tug on your heartstrings. It makes for a quite dramatic and nice ending, but it wasn't enough for me to forget the weirdness that I saw in the 4 episodes before it. I think if Japan Sinks 2020 was 6 episodes long, cutting out the middle segment of this show, I think it would have made for a really effective short story. I suppose it's still better than the movie 2012. Not that that's hard. I'm not going to recommend this one to you guys. If you want to watch the first couple of episodes and see what it's like, then go for it. But just be warned that by 3 or 4 episodes in, it's going to start pulling your hair out in frustration. And that's it for me today. Thanks a bunch for listening. Let me know if you've seen the show and what you think about it. And as always, stay tuned for more videos on movies, animes, and video games. Until next time guys, take care. Bye bye.